I really enjoy the hospitality of Armenia, and I must really tell that the Armenian authorities did a lot in order to fulfill the commitments they took when they joined the Council of Europe. For instance, there are a number of conventions which were signed and ratified and also implemented, which is really important. But of course, there is room for maneuver and to improve. And there are certain conventions which still have to be ratified, signed and ratified. There is, for instance, one convention, and I'm really pushing on that because it's important. That's the Convention to Combat Violence Against Women, the Istanbul Convention. And I was told by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and also by the Prime Minister and by the President, as well as the parliamentarians, that they are going to sign it and that they are going to ratify it because they don't want to be the last country to do it.
After his visit to Armenia, Commissioner Nils Muižnieks stressed that gender inequality is a problem in Armenia. As former president of Association of Liberal Women of Luxembourg, what solution can you suggest in this connection?
Well, first of all, sign the Istanbul Convention and then ratify it and make also the laws necessary. But a convention and laws are not enough. You have to change mentality. And that's why you need a big discussion, a large discussion in the country together also with Women's Association. But it's not only a matter of women, it's a matter of the whole society, that there is a change in mentality, that women are equal, and that one day they don't need to be protected anymore because they are equal. But there has really a lot of progress to be made, and I think I managed to get this message through to the government and also to Parliament.
Has Armenia's membership to the Eurasian Economic Union affect the country's relations with the Council of Europe?
No. It is a choice from Armenia, and that is a political choice which they wanted to do. And I think we should stop thinking in categories. If you go one way, you would be against the other. That doesn't mean if you are going eastwards, it doesn't mean that you are against the West. And some countries chose another way to go west. That doesn't mean that they are against east. So what we need are political choices which are based on facts, on realities, and then consider also the position and not having this dichotomy being right to one side and then against the other, because we need all the countries. We are one organization. The Council of Europe has 47 member states, and we have to look what unites us, not what divides us.
The Assembly announced several times that it is ready to support the Karabakh talks within the framework of a Minsk group. However, at the same time, a fact-finding group is set up in the Parliamentary Assembly to prepare a report titled Escalation of Violence in Nagorno-Karabakh and Other Occupied Territories of Azerbaijan. A report with such a title and contents is unacceptable in Armenia, as you know. How would you comment it?
Well, a big part of my discussions with all my interlocutors were focused on this problem. And we are not having a fact-finding mission, but we decided on the majority, there was a vote, and the majority decided to have that report with that title, and there was also a majority supporting the rapporteur. And it is true that there is an escalation of violence, and we must do everything to help to stop violence, because I'm thinking of the people living in Nagorno-Karabakh and also at the border who are suffering. People are killed. And this is in one of that is a region of the Council of Europe. So there must be concern of the Parliamentary Assembly as well, because it's about those people living there. But I know that wasn't welcomed, but our aim is really to help the situation of the people, and now we need time to make a report and to make a balanced report, and that's also the message I wanted to give to my interlocutors.
A reporter will come Armenia.
Well, the rapporteur is up to the rapporteur. I'm not going to tell the rapporteur, and I can't do it. A president cannot influence a rapporteur, but of course a rapporteur has to go to places and to speak to you know, I came here, and last week I was in Turkey.
Yes,
beginning of May, I'm going to Georgia, because last year I was in Azerbaijan. I want to have a picture of the whole region. It's not to take one country isolated, because none of the countries is an island. And it's important to have a picture, and you can have it, of course, through reports. But what is more important in parliamentary diplomacy is to meet these people, to speak to them, to have the personal relations in order to try to understand.
At the end of your visit to Turkey, you said Turkey has always been a bridge between Europe and Asia, and Turkey is more essential than ever. 2 days ago, when Pope Francis called the massacres one of Armenians the first genocide of the 20th century, Turkey's reaction was very sharp and rapid. How can a country that demonstrates the denial policy become a bridge between Europe and Asia?
I must say that what the Pope said as a moral authority must be recognized, and must also, you need respect, and you can't tell such a moral authority like the Pope, you can't condemn him and call back the ambassador, which was done by Turkey. I don't think that is the right way to do it. Now every country can handle those difficult issues, but I think what is important is also to have respect for opinions for others and to listen to it, and that is also about the Council of Europe. But Turkey is a bridge, because it is a bridge already geographically, if you take the geographical Europe, but Europe and the bridge to Asia, and there Turkey has also a very huge responsibility, and a responsibility also towards its neighbors. And well, I went to Turkey also to speak about the problems Turkey has with its neighbor Armenia, and you were referring to the massacre which happened 100 years ago. And I really want to pay my respect and tribute to all the victims of this terrible massacre which happened. And that is something which is not acceptable for anybody, and we must recognize that.
Is there a political consensus in Armenia over constitutional reform?
The constitutional reform, there the Council of Europe has an important role to play through its Venice Commission, and the Venice Commission really accompanied up till now the preparation of texts. It's up to the country itself to decide which way to go, which sort of organization, which sort of constitution it's going to have. But for us, it's important that it is in line with the standards of the Council of Europe. And there is another shortcoming in Armenia I want to address. That is this difficulty to have an independent judiciary and to fight corruption. That must be one of the priorities of this country, and I addressed that also. But concerning the constitution, I told my interlocutors that if I could give an advice, then that needs to have a broad consensus. Of course, there are always people against it, but the broad consensus not only on the political side, but also in civil society that has to support this reform, because it's the fundamental law for the whole country for the next future. You can't change the constitution all the time. So the advice I could give to my interlocutors is really to take time and to discuss it in order to make the right choices for the country.
Some days ago, opposition leader Gerard Sefilyan and his friends have been arrested. Some opposition powers call them political prisoners on the basis that they have been arrested without legal proofs. Have you informed about it during these meetings in Armenia?
Yes, I talked about it, and I don't have elements enough to say what happened. Of course, there is freedom of expression, and that must be really our target. And I can feel there is freedom of expression in this country. There is no problem. But freedom of expression goes also together with responsibility. And apparently those who demonstrated, they wanted to go too far. And apparently, and I say apparently because I'm cautious, I'm not investigating, that there could be a violation even of the Constitution. And demonstration, yes, freedom of association, freedom of movement, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, those are the fundamental freedoms the Convention on Human Rights is based on. But those freedoms have to be exercised in the legal framework, and everybody has to respect that. And of course, if somebody goes beyond and violates national law or even the Constitution, that is not acceptable. So I'm not saying that it isn't acceptable, but that has to be investigated. And there it is important that there is an independent investigation and that the truth is coming out, because the judiciary must be independent, must be accountable, and also impartial. And the public must have the feeling that there is no impunity. And that is important also to develop a democratic state.
And the last question, what conclusions did you make during your visit in Armenia?
My visit isn't finished yet, but I had sometimes very difficult discussions, but that I think that is positive. Because if you don't dare to tackle questions, you can't find solutions. So you have to put the right questions in order to find solutions. And what is important for me is that we agree to speak to each other, to listen to each other, to try to understand each other, even if we don't share the same opinion, but then come to an end to find a common solution. And there I found really very good interlocutors, and that has to continue, because it's only when we are meeting that we can discuss. And what I always want to underline, we have to see what unites us, not what divides us. And what unites us is the Convention on Human Rights, and we all in our countries, we are committed to it. It's a commitment our countries took. So it's our responsibility to watch in our own country, but also in other countries, that those commitments are really implemented. And there I can see that Armenia is doing a lot, and we are ready to help them to do the next steps.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.